Though it ran for just 2 seasons, Fawlty Towers remains one of the greatest British sitcoms of all time, celebrated for its sharp wit, brilliant performances, and timeless comedy. However, as the years have passed, many of the talented actors who made the show so iconic have sadly passed away. In this video, we remember 38 stars from the series who are no longer with us, honoring their lives, careers, and the lasting impact they left on television history. Join us as we pay tribute to these unforgettable performers and the laughter they brought to audiences worldwide. Andrew Sachs played Manuel in Fawlty Towers in 1975 at the age of 45, creating one of the most beloved yet tragic comedic figures on television. His portrayal of the bumbling Spanish waiter, constantly misunderstood and physically abused by Basil Fawlty, became a defining role, but it also led to lifelong typecasting. Despite a successful career in radio, voice acting, and television, Sachs struggled to find roles that would allow him to escape Manuel's shadow. His personal life was marked by both love and sorrow. He was married to actress Melody Lang, who remained by his side, but their later years were overshadowed by his battle with vascular dementia. As the illness progressed, he lost the ability to recognize loved ones and speak coherently, spending his final years in a wheelchair, robbed of his independence. On November 23, 2016, at the age of 86, he passed away from complications related to the disease, his final years a painful contrast to the laughter he had once brought to millions.
Thank you. Manuel? Senor. Would you fetch the wine list, please?
Si, senor.
The wine list.
Bernard Cribbins played Mr. Hutchinson in Fawlty Towers in 1975 at the age of 47, portraying a fussy, overbearing guest whose arrogance clashed hilariously with Basil Fawlty's impatience. Though he enjoyed a long career in film and television, Cribbins often found himself cast in supporting roles, never quite reaching the heights of fame he had hoped for. His marriage to Gillian McBarnett lasted more than 60 years, but their inability to have children weighed heavily on them both, leaving a void in their lives. As the years passed, many of his friends and colleagues passed away, and he found himself increasingly isolated. In his later years, declining health forced him to step away from acting, and he withdrew from public life. On July 27, 2022, he died at the age of 93, his passing marking the end of a career filled with steady work but overshadowed by personal regrets and unfulfilled dreams.
May I ask what's wrong with the map?
Well, it's got curry on it.
Well, look, it's perfectly simple. You go to the end of Queen's Parade
No,
just listen.
No, I just want a diagram.
No, it's really very simple.
Well, I'd rather...
Ballard Berkeley portrayed Major Gwynn in Fawlty Towers in 1975 at the age of 71, playing a senile yet oddly endearing retired military officer. His character's outdated views and frequent confusion provided comic relief, but in real life, Berkeley faced professional and personal hardships. Having worked for decades in British theatre, radio, and television, he never achieved stardom and was often overlooked for leading roles. Though he married in his later years, his life had long been marked by loneliness and financial struggles, as acting work became increasingly scarce. In his final years, his health deteriorated, and he found himself living in relative obscurity, far from the industry he had devoted his life to. On January 16, 1988, at the age of 83, he died, largely forgotten by the entertainment world, a man who had spent his life seeking recognition that never fully came.
The female gibbon gestates for 7 months.
7 months? Yeah. Well, I never. Here you are, Major. 7. Oh, my word.
Michael Gwynn played Lord Melbury in Fawlty Towers in 1975 at the age of 59, perfectly capturing the charm and deceit of a conman who manipulates Basil Fawlty's desperate need for social status. A skilled character actor, Gwynn built a career spanning theater, film, and television, but he never became a household name, always overshadowed by bigger stars. He remained unmarried throughout his life, and despite his refined presence on screen, he lived much of his life in solitude, lacking deep personal connections. As he aged, he struggled with declining health and growing disillusionment with the industry, watching as younger actors took center stage while he faded into the background. On January 29, 1976, at just 59 years old, he died of a sudden heart attack, his passing swift and lonely, a tragic end for a man whose talent deserved greater recognition.
My forgiveness. Now, is there anything that I can do for you? Anything?
Yes, well, I have filled this in.
Oh, please don't bother with that. Now, a special room, a single.
Andre Maranne played the skilled and composed Chef Andre in Fawlty Towers in 1975 at the age of 49. His character brought a touch of elegance and professionalism to the otherwise chaotic kitchen, often stepping in to fix Basil's blunders. Though he was a talented actor, he was constantly typecast as a stereotypical Frenchman in British films and television, preventing him from achieving leading roles. His personal life was marked by loneliness, his marriage, devoid of passion, ended quietly, and he had no children to carry on his legacy. In his later years, he withdrew from the industry, his contributions largely forgotten. Suffering from declining health and fading recognition, he lived his final days in obscurity. On April 12, 2021, at the age of 94, he passed away from complications of old age, with few people remembering the man who had once been a familiar face on screen.
A beautiful duck for you. It should be delicious. Top! Hello, Jeannot, top! He's always asleep. There you are. Don't forget the sauces. There. Thank you.
Nikki Henson played the charming and flirtatious Mr. Johnson in Fawlty Towers in 1979 at the age of 34. His character, a confident womanizer, caused trouble for Basil with his rebellious nature and carefree attitude. Henson was a gifted actor, particularly in theater, but his career never reached the heights it should have, overshadowed by missed opportunities and the struggle to balance stage and screen. His personal life was no less turbulent. His first marriage, to actress Una Stubbs, ended in divorce, and although he later remarried, his happiness was cut short by his long battle with cancer. Diagnosed in the early 2000s, he endured painful treatments for nearly 2 decades, fighting to continue acting even as his body failed him. On December 15, 2019, at the age of 74, he succumbed to the disease, his final years spent in a painful battle that slowly stripped him of his strength and joy.
Glass. That's all I need, unless you care to join me.
No, thank you. Not when I'm on the job.
That's when I enjoy it the most.
Geoffrey Palmer portrayed the meticulous and no-nonsense Dr. Price in Fawlty Towers in 1979 at the age of 52. His character's obsession with cleanliness and order provided a dry, understated humor that perfectly contrasted with the hotel's chaos. Throughout his long career, he was respected but often confined to roles as serious or grumpy authority figures, preventing him from achieving the widespread recognition he craved. Though he remained married for decades, his relationship became strained due to his emotionally distant nature, and his only son eventually moved abroad, rarely making contact. In his later years, Palmer suffered from declining mobility and increasing isolation, spending most of his time at home, his world growing smaller each day. On November 5, 2020, at the age of 93, he passed away peacefully, but his final years were marked by solitude and the quiet sorrow of a life that had never quite reached its full potential.
Now look, it's finished. Give those to me. Come on.
No, it's not possible.
Bruce Boa played the loud and demanding American guest Mr. Harry Hamilton in Fawlty Towers in 1979 at the age of 49. His character, brash and outspoken, constantly clashed with Basil, creating some of the show's most memorable moments. Boa had a steady career with small roles in major films like Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, but he never found the stardom he longed for. Frustration over his stalled career took a toll on his personal life, his marriage crumbled, his relationships with his children became strained, and he turned to alcohol as an escape. His later years were filled with health struggles, including a long fight with cancer, which weakened him both physically and emotionally. On April 17, 2004, at the age of 73, he passed away, his final years clouded by regret and the painful realization that his Hollywood dreams had never truly come to fruition.
I'm sure your chef knows how to fix me a Waldorf salad, huh?
Well, I wouldn't be too sure.
Well, he's a chef, isn't he?
Yes, you wouldn't prefer...
Well, find out, will you? Just go out there and see if he knows how to fix me a Waldorf salad.
Of course, yes.
Joan Sanderson played the demanding and hard-of-hearing Mrs. Alice Richards in Fawlty Towers in 1979 at the age of 67. Her character's sharp tongue and constant complaints made her a nightmare for Basil, contributing to the show's humor through relentless frustration. Sanderson had a long career in television and theater, but was frequently typecast in strict, no-nonsense roles, leaving her creatively unfulfilled. Though admired professionally, her personal life was lonely. She never married and had no children, instead dedicating herself entirely to her work. As she aged, arthritis severely limited her mobility, forcing her into a reclusive lifestyle. She struggled with depression in her final years, rarely leaving her home, and became increasingly disconnected from friends and former colleagues. She died alone on May 24, 1992, at the age of 79 from natural causes, her passing barely making the news, a quiet end for a woman once so commanding on screen.
K what?
C.K. what?
CK what?
Yes.
Who is CK what?
Okay.
Is it the manager, Mr. What?
Oh, Monica.
John Quarmby played the rigid and humorless health inspector Mr. Carnegie in Fawlty Towers in 1979 at the age of 50, bringing a stern authority to one of the show's most chaotic episodes. While he enjoyed a steady career in film and television, he was frequently confined to minor bureaucratic roles, a fact that frustrated him deeply. His marriage to actress Mary Rawlings ended in a painful divorce, and despite brief relationships, he never remarried, growing increasingly withdrawn. In later years, he suffered from dementia, a cruel fate that gradually erased his memories and ability to recognize those closest to him. Living in a care facility, he became a shadow of his former self, forgotten by the industry he had spent decades in. He died on April 5, 2019, at the age of 89, his passing largely unnoticed, marking a sad and quiet end to a once dignified career.
Starlings, shooting starlings.
In the bar?
No, through the window. I'll lock it away.
Is it licensed?
Oh, yes.
You do realize that under the Health and Safety Act it is your responsibility.
Oh, yes, I'm terribly sorry.
James Cossins played the pompous and bewildered Mr. Walt in Fawlty Towers in 1975 at the age of 42, portraying an uptight guest whose arrogance fueled Basil's exasperation. Though a talented character actor, he struggled to escape typecasting, often relegated to supporting roles that never allowed him to fully showcase his abilities. His personal life was equally troubled, his marriage ended in divorce, and his estranged wife took their 2 children, leaving him isolated and consumed by regret. Health problems, particularly chronic heart disease, forced him into an early retirement, a fate that devastated him as acting was his only passion. He spent his final years in declining health, watching his former colleagues continue to work while he was left behind. He died on February 12, 1997, at the age of 63 from heart failure, a once proud performer reduced to a life of solitude, his passing barely acknowledged in the industry he had dedicated himself to.
I just uncorked it. Didn't you see me?
What?
Look.
No.
No, you see, I took it out of the bottle. That's how I managed to get the wine out of the bottle into your glass.
I don't mean...
David Kelly played the incompetent and carefree builder O'Reilly in Fawlty Towers in 1975 at the age of 46, his shoddy workmanship creating chaos for Basil and adding to the show's absurdity. A beloved figure in Irish cinema, he gained later recognition for roles in Waking Ned Devine and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but financial insecurity plagued him throughout his career. Despite a long marriage to actress Laurie Morton, the couple suffered the devastating loss of their only son, an event that left Kelly deeply scarred. He immersed himself in work to escape his grief, but age eventually caught up with him. A serious fall in his later years led to medical complications that left him bedridden and in constant pain. He died on February 12, 2012, at the age of 82, a man who once radiated energy and humor now trapped in a body that had failed him, his final days spent in quiet suffering.
Biscuit? Oh, these look good.
Give them to me now. Will you get on with it?
Look. This lot here, an hour and a half. This one, easy, lick a paint, 1 hour. What time?
Steve Plytas played the hot-tempered chef Kurt in 1975 at the age of 62, bringing both culinary expertise and emotional volatility to the hotel's already chaotic atmosphere. His acting career spanned several decades, with appearances in films like Superman 4, The Quest for Peace and Batman, 1989, but he was often confined to stereotypical foreign roles, limiting his opportunities. In his personal life, he married Amy Doris Foxall in 1947, but their marriage was far from happy. The couple had no children, leaving Plytas with little familial support in his later years. Professionally, he struggled with diminishing roles, finding himself gradually forgotten in the industry. His health also declined, making it difficult for him to continue working. He passed away on December 27, 1994, in Surrey at the age of 81. The cause of his death was never publicly disclosed, leaving an air of mystery around his final days.
What, for money?
I bought it, Mr. Fawlty. She's very talented. Oh, no, Polly, I won't.
Oh, come on.
No, thank you.
Oh, please, I bought it to thank you.
No, honestly.
Don't you like it?
Too much.
Una Stubbs portrayed the sweet and somewhat naive Alice in 1979 at the age of 42, adding warmth and kindness to the series. She became widely recognized for her roles until Death Us Do Part and later in Sherlock, but behind her successful career was a life filled with personal struggles. She married Peter Gilmore in 1958, and they adopted a son, Jason, but their marriage ended in divorce in 1969. Her second marriage to actor Nikki Henson in 1969 produced two sons, Christian and Joe, but also ended in divorce just 6 years later. Balancing her career with raising 3 children alone was emotionally and financially exhausting. In her later years, she suffered from a prolonged illness, withdrawing from public life. She passed away on August 12, 2021, at the age of 84, leaving behind a legacy of beloved performances, but also a life touched by heartbreak and personal hardship.
Old leg, bit of chip. Oh. Better have a drink. Come on through.
Oh, Basil, look, let me call.
Allan Cuthbertson played the stern and authoritative Colonel Hall in 1975 at the age of 55, a role that perfectly captured his signature military demeanor. Throughout his career, he became well known for playing strict, disciplined characters in films and television, but this typecasting ultimately restricted his ability to explore a wider range of roles. Despite being a recognizable figure in British entertainment, he never achieved true stardom, and as he aged, his work opportunities diminished. His personal life remained largely private, but he reportedly struggled with loneliness, as he had dedicated much of his time to his career at the expense of close relationships. Professionally, he faced increasing financial instability as roles became scarce. Health problems further impacted him in his later years, making acting impossible. He passed away on February 8, 1988, at the age of 67. His cause of death was never widely reported.
Is my wife?
Well, she just introduced you.
Oh, what a coincidence.
Yeah. But I don't believe you know my wife.
Dead. Yes.
May I introduce Mrs. Hall?
Elspet Grey played Mrs. Abbott in Fawlty Towers in 1979 at the age of 50, bringing elegance and composure to the role of a refined guest amid the chaos of Basil Fawlty's mismanagement. A gifted actress, she appeared in numerous British TV shows and films, but never achieved true stardom, often overshadowed by bigger names. Her personal life was deeply affected by tragedy. Her daughter, Shelley, was born with Down syndrome, leading Grey to dedicate much of her life to disability advocacy, a cause that brought both fulfillment and exhaustion. Though married to fellow actor Brian Rix, the couple endured the emotional toll of constantly fighting for better conditions for disabled people. As she aged, her health declined, and she gradually retreated from the public eye. She passed away on February 18, 2013, at the age of 83, leaving behind a legacy of perseverance, but also a life marked by struggle and quiet sorrow.
Are you both in general practice?
No, I'm a pediatrician.
Feet.
Children.
Well, children have feet, don't they? That's how they move around, my dear.
Norman Bird played Mr. Arid in Fawlty Towers in 1979 at the age of 55, portraying a stern and impatient guest whose interactions with Basil added to the show's chaotic energy. A hard-working and prolific character actor, Bird appeared in over 200 films and television shows, including The Avengers, Wurzel Gummidge, and The Lord of the Rings, 1978. Despite his vast body of work, he never achieved leading man status, spending his career in the shadow of more celebrated actors. Personally, he found stability in his marriage to actress Nona Blamire, yet their childless home carried a quiet sadness. As he aged, his career faded, and his later years were spent away from the industry, largely forgotten by the public. A battle with cancer slowly drained his strength, leaving him to live out his final days in increasing obscurity. He passed away on April 22, 2005, at the age of 80, his death receiving little attention despite decades of dedication to the craft.
You do?
Yes. Do you know that we had to wait nearly half an hour for our main course, and when it arrived, it was wrong?
And when I complained, he completely fobbed me off with some rubbish about
My prawns.
And Way played Mrs. Hall in Fawlty Towers in 1975 at the age of 60, bringing warmth and charm to her character, a sweet and eccentric woman who added lightness to the show's dynamic. Though she had a long and steady acting career, appearing in productions such as The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie and Keeping Up Appearances, she was rarely given major roles. Her petite stature and gentle demeanor often confined her to typecast supporting characters, preventing her from ever reaching widespread recognition. Personally, she remained unmarried and childless, living much of her life in solitude, with her work as her main source of fulfillment. However, as the industry evolved and roles for elderly actresses became scarcer, she was gradually forgotten. In her later years, she faced declining health and increasing isolation, with few people around to offer support. She passed away on March 13, 1993, at the age of 77.
Have you chosen yet, Major? Colonel? Have you chosen your wine?
Oh, yes, Chablis, please.
Pat Keane played Virginia in Fawlty Towers in 1979 at the age of 46, portraying a strong-willed and confident woman who handled difficult situations with grace. Despite training at the prestigious Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, RADA, Keane spent most of her career in supporting roles, appearing in series such as Z Cars, Midsummer Murders, and Inspector Morse. Though she was a dedicated actress, true stardom remained elusive, as she was often overshadowed by more commercially successful performers. Her personal life was largely private, she never married, and little was known about her romantic relationships, leading to speculation about whether she had experienced heartbreak or simply chose solitude. In her later years, illness forced her away from acting, isolating her from the profession she had dedicated her life to. She passed away on March 1, 2013, at the age of 79. Her death met with little public acknowledgement.
You go up and have a look at her.
What?
She sounds ill, Basil.
She is ill. That's why we don't want people going up there and talking to her.
I'm not going to talk to her, Basil. I'm going to look at her.
Look at...
Brenda Cowling took on the role of Sister in 1975 at the age of 50, bringing warmth and compassion to the otherwise chaotic world of Fawlty Towers. As a caring and nurturing nurse, she provided much-needed medical support and reassurance to the guests, her presence offering a rare moment of calm in the hotel's constant turmoil. Her career spanned decades, with numerous television appearances, but despite her talent, she never achieved widespread fame, often relegated to minor supporting roles. Her personal life was equally tragic. She never married, nor had children, spending much of her later years alone in quiet solitude. While colleagues and fans adored her, she battled intense loneliness, watching as her contemporaries found lasting relationships and families while she remained isolated. In her final years, her health declined, and after suffering a devastating stroke, she passed away on October 2, 2010, at the age of 85. Her final moments marked by the very solitude that had defined much of her life.
You're in the hospital. Whatever can we do?
You can leave.
Why do they call you sister? Is it a term of endearment?
Now, look, Mr. Fawlty, I'm not going to ask you again.
Louis Mahoney stepped into the role of the Doctor in 1975 at 37, his measured professionalism bringing a sense of calm to the frantic energy of Fawlty Towers. Off-screen, he was a trailblazer, advocating for greater representation of black actors, yet his career was riddled with struggles. Often typecast and overlooked, he fought tirelessly against an industry that refused to recognize his full potential. His personal life was no less fraught. He married young but endured a bitter divorce, his wife citing his obsessive dedication to his work as the reason for their separation. Though he fathered a son, their relationship remained strained, marred by years of resentment and emotional distance. Plagued by financial instability and recurring health issues, his later years were a battle against both illness and regret. On June 28, 2020, at the age of 81, he succumbed to cancer, his final days overshadowed by the same sense of injustice that had followed him throughout his career.
Mr. Fawlty?
Yes.
Dr. Finn.
How do you do, Doctor?
You've just seen your wife.
Yes, just said goodbye. Well.
Luan Peters embodied the vivacious and flirtatious Raylene Miles in 1979, captivating audiences with her bold presence at the age of 33. Yet, behind the confident persona lay a life of heartbreak and shattered dreams. A talented singer and actress, she enjoyed moments of stardom but was often cast in roles that exploited her looks rather than her abilities. The entertainment industry's relentless demands took a toll on her mental health, and personal relationships only deepened her suffering. She married twice, both unions ending in bitter disillusionment, and while she longed for a family, she never had children, a source of deep sorrow in her later years. Substance abuse became her escape from a world that had used and discarded her. Years of addiction left her frail, her once bright career a distant memory. On December 19, 2017, at the age of 71, she died from multiple drug toxicity.
Really? Is there a restaurant near here?
Well, there's an awfully good little Welsh place, Leek House, about 5 minutes walk. You'd have to go straight away.
Oh, that'll do fine.
Just turn left out of the gate.
Michael Halsey took on the small yet memorable role of Jones, workman number 2, in 1975 at 29, a diligent and hard-working character who, like many of Halsey's roles, added subtle humor to the show. Though he found consistent work in film and television, true stardom always eluded him, leaving him frustrated and embittered. His personal life was a series of misfortunes, twice married, twice divorced, and plagued by rumors of infidelity and instability. His children, a son and a daughter, distanced themselves from him in adulthood, unable to reconcile with the man who had been absent during their formative years. As he aged, his financial situation worsened, and his health began to fail. Racked with regret, he withdrew from the public eye, suffering in silence as his once promising career faded into obscurity. On September 25, 2017, at the age of 71, he passed away, a man once filled with ambition reduced to a footnote in television history.
You're a man with orally.
What?
You orally man.
What does that mean?
You orally.
You watch it.
Where orally?
What's he going on about?
He means O'Reilly.
What?
Oh.
Mavis Pugh played the strict and authoritative Mrs. Chase in Fawlty Towers in 1979 at the age of 65, embodying a no-nonsense presence that contrasted with the hotel's usual chaos. Her career largely revolved around playing aristocratic or stern women in shows like You Rang, M'Lord, and Dad's Army, but despite her talent, she remained in the background of British television, never receiving widespread recognition. She was married to actor John Clegg, but their relationship was often tested by long periods of separation due to work commitments. They had no children, and as she aged, she faced increasing health problems, leaving her unable to continue acting. Her final years were spent in relative obscurity, largely forgotten by the industry she had dedicated her life to. She passed away on December 6, 2006, at the age of 92 from natural causes, a once familiar face on British television now reduced to a footnote in entertainment history.
Yes, and not cold like that. That's too cold. I said tepid, didn't I?
Mas grande, Manuel, de agua caliente.
Catch pneumonia from that. And bring another cushion.
Renee Roberts played the sweet yet slightly eccentric Miss Ursula Gatsby in Fawlty Towers in 1975 at the age of 67, forming an inseparable duo with Miss Tibbs. Her character brought a sense of whimsy to the show, always appearing delighted yet clueless in the face of Basil Fawlty's outbursts. Despite her charm on screen, Roberts' career was riddled with struggle, often limited to minor roles in television and theater. She never achieved stardom and spent much of her career playing elderly women, unable to break free from the typecasting that confined her. In her personal life, she never married and had no children, spending much of her later years in solitude. Without close family, she lived modestly, with financial insecurity becoming an ever-present burden. In her final years, her health declined, and she passed away on February 6, 1996, at the age of 87, from natural causes.
Did you know there's a psychiatrist staying?
Yes, I did.
Has he come for the Major?
What?
Has he come for the Major?
No.
Oh, good. We were rather worried.
Yvonne Gilan portrayed the flirtatious and lively Mrs. Painoir in Fawlty Towers in 1975 at the age of 44, adding a touch of French charm and comedic romantic tension to the show with her affection for Basil Fawlty. While she had a long career in British television, appearing in Brideshead Revisited and Doctor Who, she never became a leading star, often relegated to supporting roles. Her personal life was marked by sorrow. She married playwright Michael Gill and had a son, Adrian, but their marriage was fraught with difficulties. Adrian's early struggles with addiction deeply affected her, and her divorce left her emotionally devastated. In her later years, she battled breast cancer, enduring painful treatments while withdrawing from public life. As her illness worsened, she became increasingly isolated, and on June 14, 2018, she succumbed to the disease at the age of 86. Though she had once exuded warmth and allure on screen, her final years were overshadowed by pain and loneliness.
Afraid her local finishing school was bombed. Oh, dear. No, not really. Just a thought. Well, now, what can I get you?
Do you have any Ricard?
I'm sorry?
Any Ricard?
Conrad Phillips played the suave and sophisticated Mr. Lloyd in 1975 at the age of 50, portraying a rare figure of refinement in the chaotic world of Fawlty Towers. Best known for his lead role in The Adventures of William Tell, he had a long and varied career in film and television, often cast in roles that emphasized his charm and authority. However, as he aged, acting opportunities became increasingly rare, and he was forced into retirement. His later years were marked by severe arthritis, which gradually robbed him of mobility and independence, making even simple tasks difficult. As his condition worsened, he had to rely on caregivers, spending his final years in a care home, far removed from the glamorous world he had once inhabited. He passed away on January 13, 2016, at the age of 90, due to complications from pneumonia. Who is your favorite character in Fawlty Towers? How do you feel knowing that the actors have passed away? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much.